Speaking of water, the timeline for resuming operations at the flooded Grobler Bridge Border Post located just outside Lephalale in Limpopo is still uncertain. The Border Management Authority suspended operations 3 days ago due to elevated water levels there. As a result, trucks are queuing outside the port of entry that connects South Africa to Botswana. For more on this, let's bring in SABC News reporter Pimani Baloyi, who is at that border post and joins us now live. And my goodness, Pimani, we can see the body of water there behind you. It certainly seems it's going to take some time before operations can resume.
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to our viewers. You are right. You can see this body of water behind me. I'm actually standing on a driveway. Let me just step out of shot so that my colleague, senior video journalist Ulisane Lebebe, can just show our viewers where we are. This is a driveway where trucks that come from Botswana actually drive through after being processed so they can get into South Africa. But on the other side, you can see a warehouse where they keep equipment. Just behind that warehouse, yesterday the BMA released a statement stating that Eskom had cut off power supply for safety reasons into this entire facility. There you see behind this warehouse is a substation, Eskom substation, which is partially submerged in water, and they say that is a safety hazard, and they've had to cut off that power supply but also switch off the generators that were back up in this facility. You can see on the other side, in between this driveway, is the customs office. This is where people are usually processed. Also has become an overflow area for the Limpopo River that runs through around this area. So what actually happened here, Ayanda, it seems the Limpopo River is currently overflowing because of this continuous rain that has been happening, and this area has now become that overflow area where the water has been is now facilitated. But I'm going to bring in the BMA to speak about just how much of an impact this water is having. I'm joined by the Assistant Commissioner of the BMA, Mr. Mpilo. Mr. Mpilo, thank you so much for your time. First of all, how extensive is this damage? From the human eye, we can see everything seems to be submerged in water, but just how extensive is the damage?
Thank you so much to you and your viewers. I think maybe before one can give the extent of the damage of the infrastructure, it's good to put things into context in relation to the BMA's mandate. We are responsible to facilitate legitimate movement of both people and goods. So when the post operations are suspended, it has a huge impact on the economy of the country. So where we stand now, the operations of the ports are suspended, which in our view has a negative impact on the economy of the country. So that's the loss that at this stage we cannot confirm as BMA. We will have to get figures from customs as we move forward. But getting back to your question, the extent of the damage of the port infrastructure is too early to tell. As you are aware that the port is underwater, and we need after this have to bring in engineers to come and assess, various engineers from the infrastructure, the electrical from the side of Eskom, and on our side those that has the competency to assess the extent of the damage. It's only then that will be able to paint a picture of the damage to the port infrastructure. But from a distance, you could tell that indeed the damage will cost a lot of money. We were waiting for the rain to stop and to allow the engineers to come and assess, fix that need to be fixed, and restore services which will then assist us to resume the port's operation.
If I may, Commissioner, how is the situation on the other side of this, on the Botswana side? Is it also fully partially submerged in water?
Perhaps to paint a picture of the location of the port itself, the port is just a few meters from the river itself, and the port is still situated on the low-lying area, which makes it to be very vulnerable in terms of the overflow when the river is full. But where the bridge is, because the bridge is slightly higher than where we are now, the water is still passing under the bridge, but because of the location of the port itself, it makes it vulnerable as a first overflow when the river is full. So on the side of Botswana, the Botswanas are able to cross and also drive over the bridge, but they cannot get into the side of the port. That's where the water is.
And I understand this was a difficult decision. I saw that there was consultation with your Botswana counterparts and other related stakeholders. In terms of speaking of the resumption of operations, where are you looking? Could there be timelines?
It is difficult to tell of the timelines as it is now. We are hoping that once the water is at the manageable level, we'll be able to assess and restore services to ensure that we resume the port's operation. But historically, in 2014, when the port was underwater, we are told the water level was higher than it is now. It took them more than 2 weeks to assess, fix what needs to be fixed, restore services, which will then suggest that the port operations can then resume. So where I stand, it will be difficult for me to give that indication, but we'll try our level best to assess, restore, with a view to resume the port operation as soon as possible. We are aware of the impact that it is having on the economy of the country.
Speaking of that impact that it's having on the economy, there's still cargo that still needs to be moved. Are there alternatives? What are you advising people who need to travel between these two countries?
Yes, we have put a contingency plan in place to redivert the movements of both people and goods. But for those that are moving the goods, are advised to make use of a bed bridge, Kopfontein, Skelpad Hek, and Ramatlabama as our commercial ports. We've rediverted the resources to ensure that those ports are capacitated to deal with the extra volume that would have been facilitated through this port. So all port users, including those that are in the cargo space, are advised to divert their trucks to those ports as I've indicated. We do have non-commercial ports closer to this port, your Stockport port, your Platjan. Those that may not have the commercial goods with themselves are advised to make use of those ports.
Thank you so much. That's the Assistant Commissioner of the BMA taking us through just the extent of the damage. And I just wanted to add that this persistent rainfall didn't necessarily just affect the services at this port of entry. Earlier, we were at a hospital just around 80 kilometers from here, where the Department of Health just decided it had to evacuate patients because of water levels that were also reaching some of the wards. So it looks like this rainfall is wreaking havoc in and around Lephalale, but we also know that areas such as Mutimule as well have also had similar impacts, where some services have also had to be halted, and there were also some families that have been displaced. Some were put in community halls. We've spoken to the Lephalale municipality, where it has several community halls where it's providing food and accommodation for families who have lost their roofs due to this flooding. Ayanda.
Oh, what an important story. Pimani Baloyi, live to us there from Lephalale in Limpopo. For now, thanks very much indeed.